Happy New Year. Good Friday morning, Friday edition of a football show. Welcome to the program. His name is Zach Lyons. My name is Braden Gall. The Titans lose 6 straight games, and we're here to talk about it and all of the bad takes about the game on Twitter as well. Also, we've got a college football playoff to get to. We've got bowl games, Bowl-a-Palooza all across the Southeastern Conference. Zach, good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing good. I watched the game this morning. I held true to my word yesterday.
Really?
Because I said if Josh Dobbs is starting, I am not watching this game. And I instead just followed. I watched Texas versus Washington, which turned out to kind of at about the same time that Texas-Washington was really sucking. Apparently, the game was really exciting because I followed it all through Twitter. But I held true to my word. I am a man of my word, and I watched it this morning commercial-free, and it was the best decision of my life. And that's how I should watch all Titans games.
D Good says you are an effing liar.
Not
you
an effing
definitely
liar.
watched the game last night. So let me paint the picture. By the way, first of all, Kingston Group Pharmacy, 2 great local sponsors here, locally owned businesses. If you need any work on your house, check out the Kingston Group. If you want to eat a great burger, go to the pharmacy. By the way, pharmacy folks are good friends at the pharmacy, passing out pharmacy burgers all over Nissan Stadium parking lot last night. Before the game, you could have gotten yourself a big old patty. Right before the game.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Were you invited to this event?
No.
Oh.
No. I mean,
all right.
I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, really.
But no, I saw some photos of some big old pharmacy burgers in the parking lot outside Nissan Stadium in front of the big Eddie George poster. They were out there doing great work to try to keep all you Titans fans fed yesterday. So go back and support the pharmacy, all right? Go grab yourself a burger sometime this weekend, sometime next week. There's plenty of time to get out of the house, get away from the in-laws during the holidays, and go get yourself a great burger over there at the pharmacy. And, of course, Kingston Group, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. Now, let me ask you this, Zach. So you're telling me a diehard Titans fan is sitting at home watching football and following the game on Twitter, and yet you did not turn over to watch a single play. You expect us to believe that?
No, I didn't have to. Any good plays that were done were shown on Twitter, so I never had to turn it on. I'm not gonna sit there and say something and then not follow through with it. That's just how I've been, my brand. If I say that I'm not gonna watch the game, I'm not gonna watch the game because that makes me a hypocrite. And unlike people on Twitter and media members, I am not a hypocrite.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to a lot of the bizarro Twitter takes because it seems like they were flying left and right about the Titans last night, yesterday when we found out. By the way, big ups to Justin Mello of Broadway Sports Media and the 440 Sports Network for breaking the news that Josh Dobbs is going to be the starter for the Tennessee Titans. Good job by the rest of the national media to credit Justin on that as well. So good job there. Really good work by him. And we'll get, obviously, Dobbs is going to be a focal point of this conversation. Again, we're going to preview the 2 college football playoff games. We got a lot of bowl games to get to, but we're going to focus heavily on the Titans because now we are down to the last game of the regular season. And the last game of the regular season will decide the AFC South. The Titans have a win or go home situation. They are in a playoff game next week. I find that to be exciting, if nothing else. It may not be anything else, but it's at least a little exciting. You got extra time to prepare. And I'm going to make one just broad sweeping statement about the Titans-Cowboys game before we get into Josh Dobbs and some of the linebackers and some of the play calling and everything else and the takes. I could not help. I did watch the game last night, and I'm watching the game, and every quarter, every moment of that game, the only thing that is going through my head is how on earth could you think that Mike Vrabel is in trouble as a head coach? How on earth could you think that Mike Vrabel's not a good football coach, that he doesn't belong here in Nashville? I know it's a 6-game losing streak, but I'm watching that entire game going, this team has no business even being in this sort of situation with a 12-win Dallas Cowboys team that has all pros at almost every position on the football field, and you are giving them a run. And I wrote this down. Of the top 15 players on this roster, the top 15 best, most important Tennessee Titans, how many do you believe played on Thursday night?
2. I can't remember what your top 15 was because you gave us...
No. Any just... Your top 15
top
even.
15 at one point. So I would say that Kevin Byard, Traylon Burks.
That's
Chig,
it.
Would you include Chig?
So that's where I got to 14 pretty clearly, and then I got to 15, and I was kind of like, is that Robert Woods? Is it T.R. Tart? Is it NPF? Is it Elijah Molden? Is it Nate Davis? Nate Davis? Is it Ben Jones?
But either way, 2.5.
Basically 2 to maybe 3 players of the top 15 people on this roster played on Thursday night against a 12 win Dallas Cowboys team with, again, stars at almost every position group, the offensive line, receiving core, backfield, quarterback, front line, linebackers, cornerbacks. They've got their best players. And they gave that team a legitimate scare on Thursday night. They weren't ever going to win it.
Well, let me say this. They weren't ever going to win it. I think you could say that before the game, but I think in the game, I don't think that's necessarily true. When I'm watching it this morning,
the pass interference
penalties killed this team. But they could have won this game had it not been for, 124 penalty yards or something like that. It was ridiculous. And on the flip side, they got a lot of penalties called on them and didn't get a lot of penalties in their favor. I think they missed a couple of roughing the passer calls, because if you're going to call the one on Monty Rice, you got to call the other ones.
I agree with
that. And Mike Vrabel agrees. And they definitely missed the pass interference call on Treylon Burks, because if you can only get one hand up, if you can only get one hand to catch it free, it's pass interference. And I saw Easton say that wasn't actually a good call. So that is one of the worst takes I've seen on Twitter. And also that Sean Hockley is the worst referee is also a bad take by Easton. It's Jerome Boger.
Roughing on Trey says roughing on Micah Parsons almost helmet to helmet. I tend to agree with that. Good morning up to everybody out there. By the way, get in the comments, jump in the section there. We'll answer any questions. I to your point, I think the game changed on the two pass interference penalties on McCreary, and then of course on Avery. That was about 75 yards of pass interference on two plays.
The last one on McCreary that was called on him was very ticky-tacky, and I can almost say that I think two of them were ticky-tacky.
The two big ones, the 3rd and 19, of course, the 51-yarder that basically kind of ended the game to some degree. On a 3rd and 19, you got to get a stop. They were both I understand why they were called. McCreary gives him a shove out of bounds. It's a little tap. It's a little ticky-tack. And then Avery does have the arm around him. I don't know if that was catchable.
Get Noah Brown and Oscar. Because that would be like it's like a fucking bomb went.
No, he exploded. A million percent.
What got it.
A million
percent. Gamesmanship, right? I mean, that's just gamesmanship. And really the referees have to be above gamesmanship, because apparently, I don't know if he did, but again, gamesmanship, it kind of seemed like Dak may have pulled Monty Rice down on him. Yep. So again, I know it's bam, bam kind of moments, but to me, the most egregious one was the missed pass interference call on Treylon Burks.
That's probably fair. My issue would be the consistency of it all. I don't mind any one call in a vacuum, but when you put them all together, they need to be a little bit more consistent. But again, I think the point is the fact that we could be discussing a questionable 50-50 PI that on 3rd and 19 on Trey Avery that's results in a 51-yard gain and a touchdown, essentially, in the game winning, kind of putting the game out of reach. The fact that we're even having that discussion when two of the best 15 players on the roster are on the field, all of your best players are out, and Mike Vrabel's team, they just line up and they keep coming. And I don't know, again, Vrabel has questions to answer, the new general manager, all the shit we've talked about. But don't tell me that Mike Vrabel isn't the guy you want coaching those players. It's just ridiculous. I thought about watching that game.
And I'm with you. Fans that are calling for Mike Vrabel to not be on the team are taking crazy pills. Now, with that said, they did flash to Amy Adams-Strunk in the booth, who did not look particularly happy.
No, nice sweater though. She had a nice sweater.
Very nice sweater.
Yeah,
so festive. You still have to leave the possibility open that she does not feel the same way that we do.
Yeah, I don't
give
a shit about
that. As the Adams gene, we cannot ignore that. I think people who want to ignore that, because remember, she loved Mike Mularkey. And Mike Mularkey, that's what she said, right? And then what'd she do? As soon as Mike Mularkey put up a little bit of fight trying to keep his guy, Robisky,
oh God,
Downey, then she got rid of his ass. So you have to think that there is a timeline and a possibility that, I love Vrabel. Hey, she loved John Robinson enough to give him a contract and a 5-year extension. He didn't even see the first year come to fruition.
Everything you just said is correct. Everything you just said is accurate.
It would be insane. It would be crazy. It would be foolish and stupid, and it would be hard for us to cover this team for them to get rid of Mike Vrabel, because Sean Payton's not coming here, and that's the only person you should be firing him for.
No, I completely agree with everything you just said. It's all possible. it doesn't change my opinion that it would be the dumbest thing I've ever seen, like you just said. And
Yeah.
Caleb says maybe she secretly hates Downing as much as we do. Who knows? Maybe that's true. Maybe that's what she's really angry about.
I am telling you, I do not. There's a lot of people I argued with this week that it was Jacob, Will Lamas, and Tyler from Tic Tac Titans. So it's Titans Wire, I believe, is what he writes for the USA Today, and then Tic Tac Titans does Locked On Titans podcast. They're both concerned that Amy Adams-Strunk is just going to believe whatever Mike Vrabel tells her and going to keep Todd Downing because that's what Mike Vrabel does. First off, I don't think Mike Vrabel wants to keep Todd Downing. I'd be super shocked. I would have to question what I've never questioned about Mike Vrabel, and that's his football intelligence, okay? Secondly,
agreed.
I don't think Amy Adams-Strunk is going to let him keep Todd Downing. So I think Todd Downing has I left it open for like a 1 or 2% chance that he's going to be here next year.
I agree.
Now we're on a totally different tangent.
No, I know. The only thing I disagree with, and we've talked about this before, is that I don't think Malarkey and Vrabel are in the same situation. I think Malarkey was always a stopgap, and it was always going to be like sort of the transitional piece to get them to the next situation.
The situation, though, is keeping a bad offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
that is the situation I'm focusing on, is keeping Robisky and Downing.
All right, so can we start with so Josh Dobbs is the starter. Josh Dobbs takes over. He's 20 of 39 for 232 yards and a touchdown. Certainly plenty of mistakes. He's only been in the facility for like 9 days, of course. And I don't know if you know this, but he's got a 4.0 GPA and studied aerospace engineering at Tennessee. Don't know if anybody noticed that. But that's a thing that he's done. It's on his resume. The passing attack was clearly different. They went down the field. I want you, before we get into like the actual positives, and does he give them a chance to beat Jacksonville? We know it does over Malik Willis. Can you just kind of throw out your favorite 2 or 3 or 4 god-awful quarterback Twitter takes from the last 24 to 48 hours? What are your personal favorites?
Well, from what I saw last night is that people think that the playbook that Todd Downing, who everybody agrees is a complete moron, right? I mean, all Titans Twitter fans agree. Todd Downing, complete moron, right?
I got to go that far, but okay.
Well, I'm giving you the point of, Titans Twitter.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Now, because Josh Dobbs did a couple of bootlegs and because he threw the ball a lot, they think that this idiot has, for whatever reason, been able to devise and design and install a new playbook for a quarterback who only had 9 days to prepare on this team.
So the take is that he did something totally different?
Yeah, the take is that they sabotaged Malik, and they're also selectively racist. That was my other one, is that they're racist against Malik, but not against any of the other players, and specifically Josh Dobbs. I think that is the most wild thing I've ever seen.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. I know I saw you and Mike Herndon was throwing stuff out there. You and Rexroad were talking about this.
Yeah.
What are some other? Give me some other ones. I think that they're just saving Malik Willis for Jacksonville take.
Well, I think
that one seems pretty stupid.
I think that was valid until the game started. Once the game started, that's obviously not true. Okay. And then after the fact, Sam Phelan, and I don't think this is really getting enough play, is that Dobbs was basically told after the Christmas Eve game that he was going to be starting.
Yeah, he said that he got the phone call after.
Yeah,
at
and
night,
I don't think that's
Christmas
getting
Eve.
enough play because obviously nobody sniffed that out among the local media until like yesterday. And it took a guy from Canada to actually confirm and break the story, which I find it's just mind-blowing. But I think that tells you right there that, first off, kudos to Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel, right? I mean, like, why is nobody talking? I will say this, Rexroad. Rexroad popped this into my head this morning. But basically, we need to give kudos to Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel, whoever brought Josh Dobbs in.
Or is Malik Willis just that low of a bar?
Or
yes. The answer is yes.
I will say this. So I'm writing an article for Broadway Sports Media that I'm going to finish up once PFF puts up their stats. And I'm holding Josh Dobbs accountable to the same metrics I held Malik Willis accountable. Initial eye test, efficiency metrics, and advanced stats. And I'm only really going to compare what was last week for Malik Willis and what's this week for Josh Dobbs, because that is only fair. Because they played with the same personnel outside of Derrick Henry.
Oh, that guy.
Okay, so that goes into this. So the efficiency metrics for Josh Dobbs versus the Dallas Cowboys defense and Malik Willis versus the Houston Texans defense, the
Oh my
efficiency
God.
metrics,
With
practically the same.
Well, and I can't wait to see this, by the way. Go sign up, Broadway Sports Media, for an insider pass there. I believe it's 99 cents for the first month.
First
like
month, if you use code INSIDER. If you use code ANNUAL, it's $50 for the whole year.
There you go. Annual. $50 for the whole year. Sign up. Kingston Group and Pharmacy too, by the way. I think I can't wait to see it, because what the other important piece of context here for Josh Dobbs and Malik Willis, which is painfully obvious to any human being with a brain, is that one guy has been in the system for 9 months and the other guy's been in the system for 9 days. And that is also critical context. No Derrick Henry, no time in the system. And the offense was, again, we're just going off the initial eye test here. Can't wait for the article, but it's pretty obvious. Like, it's pretty, like, the difference between a player who has been a professional athlete playing in professional offenses for 5 or 6 years, even if it's on scout teams and as backups.
Well, wasn't the UT
There's a huge
offense
difference.
even a little bit more pro-ready than what Malik did with Liberty? Like, I'm comparing
maybe
Dobbs versus Liberty.
Maybe, but that's...
Who's the last Hugh Freeze quarterback that got drafted in the NFL to ever amount to anything?
Well, I mean, it's Chad Kelly, it's Bo Wallace, I agree. But and Hugh Freeze, this is what's ironic about Hugh Freeze, is he's openly said, like, I didn't coach Malik Willis. Like, I didn't develop him. He said that openly in an interview I heard one time. So I think Willis, there's nothing really changes about our evaluation of Willis, I think, long term.
Right.
Big picture. Like,
this
nothing really changes.
This is the perfect glaring example that there's two examples here that are Grand Canyon differences between Josh Dobbs and Malik Willis. I think Josh Dobbs' ability to play and compensate for the speed of the game with his mental processing, being able to read a defense, no hesitation when he throws, being able to go through his reads quickly. That is 1,000 times better than Malik Willis. But this also goes to show you that this system is better for a Josh Dobbs, Ryan Tannehill type than it is for a Malik Willis type. And I will keep saying that until the day I die. Malik Willis' career is ruined because he got drafted to the Tennessee Titans, because this system is not for him, and they're never going to change this system.
I do want to know more detail about the true differences between the guys you're talking about. And that's more of an offseason conversation. I still think, like, Dobbs is, again, an incredibly flawed quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. You can see the sort of I don't want to say, like, lack of pure ability, because I'm a Tennessee alumni. I love Josh Dobbs. Like, he's a 4.0 GPA, Zach. I don't know if you know that, but he's a great kid. I like his dad. My favorite moment of the entire night is he throws the touchdown pass to Robert Woods, and you can see his dad say, "That's my boy." And I was just like I'm getting chills.
You also see him get really pissed off when he makes a mistake, right? I mean, You saw he definitely dropped an F-bomb at some point. I can't remember after which play. I think it was the first interception. And let me say this, the second interception, it looked like he was trying to throw it out of bounds, and that guy just leaped up in the air and caught it. I don't know who caught it, but
I think you're right on with your differences. It is about processing the defense as quickly as possible, using better footwork and technique and proper NFL professional quarterbacking skills to run an offense. Is he a starting quarterback in the NFL, Josh Dobbs? No. But is he more advanced at the most important things than Malik Willis? Yes. And that is why he's going to start against Jacksonville. Kevin Byard said as much.
And the offensive line looked better pass blocking. You know,
with less dudes.
Yeah, like, to me, and it's the same dudes that Malik Willis was under, and it's because Josh Dobbs was processing quicker. He wasn't standing in the pocket. You know, we're talking about over 4 seconds for Josh Dobbs to get the ball out, over 4 seconds for Malik Willis to get the ball out. I'm anxious to see what it is for Dobbs last night, but Malik Willis was holding on the ball too long.
Yeah.
And it's just, that is part of it. And listen, the way that this offense is constructed is just not good, and it's just not the way that Malik Willis needs to be. That is not Malik Willis's fault. Okay? It's not Malik Willis's fault that he can't, be the quarterback that this team wants him to be, because he was never going to be that quarterback. However, Josh Dobbs can be that quarterback. And if you're telling me that we're going into the 2023 season, I want to see Ryan Tannehill QB1, Josh Dobbs QB2,
yeah,
Willis QB3, and Malik Willis has to earn has to earn his spot back on the team to be on the final 53.
Are you like, what if I just had Josh Dobbs as like a placeholder for like anybody that could be just better than Malik Willis?
I would rather just have Josh Dobbs because we've seen what he could do in this system.
Okay.
Like, I mean, because like then you're talking about like they wasted their time with Logan Woodside, Trevor Siemian, and these other guys.
I agree.
Just keep the people that you know that you can work in their system. And Josh Dobbs is also a really smart, intelligent guy, 4.0 rocket scientist. But when he was on the sidelines for the Steelers, Big Ben would come off a play and go immediately to Josh Dobbs, talking about, what did you see? What do you see? You know, tell me what I did wrong. He was asking for his opinion. So he's a good mentor or good person to have on the sideline, regardless of who your young quarterback is. But Malik Willis has to earn his spot back.
Yep, I agree with that. Wes, I think this is a really interesting angle here from Wes. It says, do you think that Todd Downing and the offensive staff tries too hard to use Henry, and when he's out of that they plan for a kind of a complete game? And my first comment is, there's moments where I'm starting to see the things I love about Hassan Haskins. Like there's some moments in there where the physicality, that third down run where he gets hit behind the line of scrimmage and then falls forward for 3 yards and picks up the first down. Julius Chestnut had the long catch and run on the screen pass. Like I feel like when they know Derrick Henry's there, he is such a focal point on both sides for both the offense and the defense, both teams. That is, I wonder if they feel looser and freer when he's not around in terms of how they call the game, because they can't rely so heavily on the one thing. I don't know what you think about that. I think that's interesting.
Derrick Henry's the crutch. That's what he is. He's a crutch for the offense. And what I will say this game plan, when I was watching it, my first instincts were, well, they're really going to Green Bay this thing. Like they're coming out and they're doing something nobody expected, and that's take a player off that basically with no Derrick Henry and no offensive line players, they're going to pass the ball because nobody expects them to pass the ball. And it's kind of like Green Bay. Green Bay expects them to run, right? I mean, that's kind of how they played. And they came out and they just threw it all over the field.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I was like, that's the game that this reminded me of, outside of the obvious outcome.
I think the score was identical too, just
almost
all the way around.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. And I think that the people here's the thing. The plays that Josh Dobbs was running last night aren't plays that Malik Willis has shown that he can execute properly. That includes bootlegs, because you went to practice over the summer. Mike Herndon went to practice over the summer. And one of the biggest things you both talked about was how he looks so uncomfortable throwing on the run on these bootleg rollouts.
To his left, for sure.
To his left. And that's where Dobbs was going. Dobbs wasn't going to his right. He was going to his left.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I agree that's absolutely true. Willis did have a bootleg to his left where he completed a pass in last week's game against the Texans, and I was like, I actually remember noticing it, going like, oh, I've never seen him do that before. So he's not able to do it consistently the way Dobbs is.
And so that was one of the things, because everybody saw the bootlegs. They're like, oh, why didn't they do this with Malik Willis? Well, they did. Why? Well, they didn't even do this with Ryan Tannehill. Let me tell you something. Every bootleg that Ryan Tannehill has done that I can remember in the last 2 years, he's gotten his ass knocked into the ground. Okay? They've been horrible plays. He probably said, please do not make me run any more bootlegs, because they were so bad. In fact, at No Flags Film has a graphic from December 3rd talking about how bad the bootleg play action game has been for the Tennessee Titans. And it's been an awful decline. So spare me that this is entirely new playbook, and spare me that Malik Willis has never been able to do this. It's like when Marcus lost his job and Art Smith all of a sudden had this whole new playbook. No, it's the same playbook, just different plays, because guess what? The players executing the plays can actually execute them, and they proved that in practice.
Yeah. I thought Treylon Burks was really good, other than the drop. 4 catches, 66 yards, had the big play on the end around. That's 2 or 3 times.
I thought he was really going to screw that up. The play that he tiptoed on the sidelines, though, like where he did the magical footwork that everybody likes. I'm watching that and I'm thinking, well, we're not going to have time to make the field goal because he didn't go out of bounds.
Yeah.
Luckily they did, but it was just crazy.
Robert, I mean, there were a lot of drops, even with the 200+ yards passing.
At least 3 or 4.
Like, I mean, Burks had a drop on that slant route.
Malik suffered the same thing, right? Malik had problems with his wide receivers dropping balls as well. So this isn't a new thing. Ryan Tannehill had it. So this isn't some new thing that everybody's saying, oh, well, only Dobbs had the drops. No, we've been talking about drops all damn year.
Well, welcome to the NFL. Racey McMath, almost a 40-yard pass. Robert Woods with a really nice game. He did have a drop too. Chestnut, I mentioned Haskins. Again, they feel like, with the exception of why Chigakonkwo was only on the field for 16 snaps, I thought that was interesting.
That's a probably save him kind of deal.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
That's what I think.
I think other than the Chig usage rate, which to your point could absolutely be about making sure he's good to go for Jacksonville, I thought it was extremely diversified. And I think that's what we've expected from this offense from the beginning, is to be able to go to you don't have one guy replacing A.J. Brown. You have like 12 guys trying to replace A.J. Brown. And I thought you started to see a little bit of that. Some of that's because McMath's actually on the field. But I thought Haskins, Chestnut, I thought a lot of these guys played okay. Not great, but pretty good. Especially with a guy who's running the offense for like the 8th day. Like, I just think I mean, the offense is different. It's better without Willis. They have as much production in one game with Dobbs through the air as Willis had in 3 starts. I think it's clear that Dobbs is your guy. And listen, could he go down to Jacksonville and get a win if Simmons is back and, you know, all these other guys are back? Maybe they can. And
well, I think it's a good chance, because if you got Simmons healthier, Danico Autry healthier, you have Amani Hooker, Christian Fulton, David Long technically could be coming back.
Derrick Henry.
I mean, no Dennis Staley because he got benched. Maybe they permanently moved to Zach Johnson or Xavier Newman Johnson. I don't know, but
that was one of the worst offensive line lineups that I've seen in the Titans uniform maybe ever.
But there's a lot to like about the defense going into the game, and Josh Dobbs is good enough is probably a good enough quarterback if the defense is at pretty much full strength to be able to go up and win that game against Jacksonville.
So Trey asked this question because I agree with you. He says, I wonder if the Cowboys just didn't know how to prepare for this ragtag offense. Thoughts? Because while you're saying this stuff about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their chance to go down there and win, I'm thinking Jacksonville's going to whip their ass. And it's because it's more of a real game. And I'm curious if maybe because Dallas knew all the players were out and the offense was new and the quarterback's different, that they just didn't maybe, I don't want to say take it as seriously, because that's not, I mean, they're fighting for a division championship potentially.
That's what I'm saying. They practice, they play. That is another bad take that I saw, that, well, the Dallas defense, they're just not playing hard enough, and they're just not playing with it. They don't have anything to really play for. They're not taking this game seriously.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, that's just not true. They had almost all their starters, and they played really well. They held the team to 13 points.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, my argument is that and I think Trey's point is that it's a bunch of new stuff that's not been on film before, and so you don't really know how to necessarily go after.
There's nothing that was technically shown on. There's nothing that has not been shown in any kind of film from the last 2.5 years under Todd Downing. There wasn't any new wrinkles, no new plays. It's Josh Dobbs, who is definitely worse than Ryan Tannehill, and it's Hassan Haskins, who's definitely worse than Derrick Henry.
No, I agree.
I don't buy it, and I just don't buy it.
I would. My argument would be, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. My argument would be that literally no one's ever seen Josh Dobbs throw a touchdown pass before, so we just don't know what Josh Dobbs looks like in any offense really. And it's just a little. It's. I agree the plays aren't any different, and a lot of the receivers are the same. But no, I mean, again, an offense schematically changes a little bit when it's not leaning on Derrick Henry. Josh Dobbs is a different player. I think that's a part of it. I don't think it's the reason.
It still held them to 13 points.
Right.
Like, Jacksonville is not as good a defense as the Dallas Cowboys.
So are you pretty optimistic?
It depends on the injury report. Like, it really will depend on who's available. Of course, now they don't play. Do they play on? They may get flexed into Sunday night, but I think they play on Saturday, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think Sunday evening is when the earliest they can announce it. So
right,
but
New Year's Day. Now they're playing next Saturday, right?
I don't think any time has been decided for any game.
Oh, okay.
I think what I'm saying is I think in 2 days, by Sunday night, the NFL has to decide where all the games are going to be slotted for
Yeah.
Week 18. I don't think
I
that's come out yet.
Gotcha. They play early in the day on Sunday, I think is what the general consensus is until they get flexed. So I'm just trying to get to the point of they're going to have extra time to rest up and get these defenders and everything healthy. And
that was the strategy.
Yeah, and that was the strategy going into this game.
Yeah.
And I don't think unless he changes his mind, Doug Peterson's not resting anybody.
No, I don't think so either.
He came out and said he isn't, so he could lie about it. But what if Trevor Lawrence gets injured? Just saying. I mean, there's risk there for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, there is.
And if they go in and lose to the Houston Texans, who they haven't won a game against, mind you, if they lose in like 9 years or something like that, something crazy. They're on a huge losing streak against the Houston Texans, I believe.
That can't be right. 18 straight to the Texans?
It's 9 straight, I think, from the Texans. Straight. So, but still, if they lose to them with their starters, demoralizing.
No, that's true. That's true. Not if you would like to drown away some of your sorrows for 6 straight losses. Pharmacy is a great place to do it. Go check out the Pharmacy. Great burgers over there. Right over there at McFerrin, right on in East Nashville. They've got the location downtown as well. So great burgers, of course. Obviously, Kingston Group, a great supporter of this show as well. So make sure before you make any big decisions about your house, keep in mind the Kingston Group. Just give them a call. I'm not asking you to use them necessarily, but they will help you. So buildkg.com and, of course, the Pharmacy. Check out all of our locally owned and sponsors here on the product. Of course, Broadway Sports Media, all the other podcasts from Broadway Sports Media, as well as 440 Sports as well. Before we move on to college football, I do want to ask you, I find myself watching Dr. Gibbons and Monty Rice a lot the last few games. Now, they make a lot of tackles 2 and 3 yards downfield. But every now and then you see that flash and they shoot a gap and they're making a play at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. And a great linebacker with great diagnostic skills and instincts it flies up to the line of scrimmage, reads the play quickly, and makes plays at the line of scrimmage. So I want to see more of that from both of them. I'm making sure I'm being very clear here that there's a lot of work to go. But dude played 91 snaps last night. Jack Gibbons did. Everyone on defense and like 17 on special teams. And he made some nice plays. Monty Rice now has been making plays for 3 or 4 games. How do you feel about the depth at linebacker over the last few weeks?
Unreliable. I don't believe in Jack Gibbons. He'll hit the wall just like Dylan Cole did, because you know why? Because they're undrafted free agents who are role-playing special teamers, and they have a talent ceiling. If I cannot put my trust in Jack Gibbons more than I did with Dylan Cole. It needs to be David Long. Now, Monty Rice is a little bit different story, but he is just essentially Rashaan Evans to me. Maybe better.
More versatile, I feel like. He can drop into coverage.
He hasn't really shown it dropping into coverage yet. And he also pulled a Rashaan Evans even last night and like just totally just was like lost in space, like just doing circles like a fucking clown or a Shriner driving one of those cars.
Shriner. I never thought we'd get a Shriner mention on the show. Again, I am not suggesting that Gibbons is a starting linebacker in the NFL.
I'm not suggesting that you are. What I'm suggesting is that other people think that he's going to be. He's going to be a nice mainstay practice squad player, and I'm very happy for him. That is his level. That he will get called up during injury. He will play well temporarily, but if you ask him, much like Dylan Cole, if you ask him to play for 7 games, he's going to tail off after game 3.
I thought they
may even fell off after this game because he played 91 snaps.
Yeah, it's true. I thought they played pretty well, all things considered, on Thursday night. But I think what I've seen from Rice is just a little bit more decisiveness, knowing where he's supposed to be in general. It doesn't mean he doesn't make lots of mistakes still, because he's still kind of finding his feet. But I'm starting to see an actual NFL player, not a starter, maybe not necessarily a great one, but you're starting to see him make more plays. What I want to see is when you're a linebacker and you're making tackles on running plays, 3 and 4 yards downfield, like your first contact, right, with the running back is like 3 yards downfield. That means you're a step slow. It means you're one step slow in diagnosing everything. But every now and then, once out of every 4 or 5 tackles, it's a shoot the gap. I read the play perfectly, and I made the play at the line of scrimmage. And if he does that enough, that's when you can start to see progress and maybe a guy that's got some opportunity to play in the future.
To me, Monty Rice is definitely going to be a starter next year, and they're probably going to go in thinking that he is a starter Do I believe that he is a starting caliber linebacker? I'm not entirely sold yet.
Okay.
But do I think that the possibility is open? Yes.
Okay.
And I think that we'll get into it in the offseason, but I'm not sure what they do with Nate Davis and David Long at this current point in time because they're both pending free agents.
And have had injuries. I think Long, I would be more concerned about the injuries with Long because of the size and the style of play.
And technically, there are hamstring injuries that had plagued Long, nothing more than that. And I don't know if those really have anything to do with size, but I do agree that his long-term viability because of his size, regardless of the hamstring injuries, is probably an issue.
Jayon Brown was a really good player until the injuries affected him because he was a undersized physical linebacker, and that's hard to do in the NFL. So, and David Long's even smaller than Jayon Brown. All right, anything else on the Titans game? Otherwise, here's a reminder: Tuesday. Okay, we're off on New Year's Day number 2 on Monday because that's when all the college games get played. So we'll be on Tuesday, 1 p.m. live from the pharmacy, of course. So just a programming note there. Anything else? We're going to preview Jacksonville coming up on Tuesday and Thursday next week. Obviously, recap the national college football playoff games and your New Year's Eve, of course, as well. Anything else on the Titans game you want to go? Or are we ready to roll?
Yeah, just a reminder that Malik Willis's career is technically not over yet, but he does have to earn his spot, and he has a lot of work to put in during the offseason. Yeah. That will let you know, because I've been hearing some rumors behind the scenes that 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. comment, you may want to be tossing Malik Willis into that.
Oh, okay. You got sources? You got sources?
Okay. Well, my source has sources, so it's secondhand knowledge. Now, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but we'll see in the offseason how much work he puts in to get better at his craft in this particular offense if they keep something similarly installed. Now, if they go out and get, I don't know, like Eric Bieniemy tree of offensive coordinator, something entirely different, like that, like someone from the Brian Daboll tree or Buffalo tree. Then
Brian Daboll has a tree now?
I don't know. Well, he will if someone gets hired, right?
That's true.
Right now, it's a sprout.
Ken Dorsey?
Yeah, you never know. Could be Ken Dorsey. Could be Mike Kafka, who's from both those places. I don't know. But if one of these guys comes in that's from an entirely new system, then he gets an entirely clean slate.
That's true.
However, he has to put in the work in the offseason, and I think he will. I've seen him do work in the offseason. I've seen him go to the quarterback school and go to quarterback gurus and do all this stuff. My last thing is that if you are one of these people that think that Malik Willis lost confidence because he got benched for one game, now possibly 2, but specifically this one meaningless game, if you say they shouldn't have benched him because he loses confidence, then you can't really say that you have faith that Malik Willis could be an NFL starter.
I love that.
Because then he doesn't have the dog in him. He doesn't have the fight, and he doesn't have the drive. He does not have what it takes to overcome adversity. Now, I personally don't believe he lost any confidence because #blessed, just happy to be here. I don't think he personally lost confidence. But if you think that he does, or he has, or he possibly can, then he ain't it. So I don't want to hear from you saying that Malik Willis is being treated unfairly because you yourself are admitting that he does not have what it takes to be an NFL quarterback.
I say this all the time about college fans too. They're like, well, no, I don't want to play him as a true freshman. I don't want him to lose confidence. And I'm like, listen, if a quarterback can't survive some adversity and some mistakes on the field or being benched by his coach, then you are not quarterback 1 in the SEC or in the NFL. That's it. You're just not. You are not QB1, dude. If you can't handle some mental toughness, some mental adversity, being told you need to do this better or that better, or this guy gives us a better chance right now, if that's what breaks you, you ain't quarterback 1. That's it. I could not agree more with that. I've said that for years. This whole, there's always this conversation. Oh, wait, maybe how do you bench him? That's going to destroy his confidence. You can't pull him in and out of the lineup. You need to let him learn. Oh, what, as a rookie, if he throws too many interceptions, you're going to break his confidence. And I'm like, if he's that fragile, he's not the guy.
Right.
It's not that complicated. All right. So Malik Willis, a lot of work to do in the offseason. I think we all agree. I think he does have a chance to be the number 2 quarterback next year if Ryan Tannehill's still around. I just think there's going to need to be some work.
They cannot bring in a Logan Woodside, Kevin Hogan player to push Malik. It has to be Josh Dobbs or better in the backup department, because if Malik doesn't rise to the occasion, which there is a good chance that he doesn't, let's be clear. Malik Willis was a third-round quarterback for a reason. 31 teams passed over him. And I say 31 because technically 32 because the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett. 32 teams passed over Malik Willis for 2.5 rounds.
Yep, 3 times. The Titans passed on him 3. The Titans passed on him 3 times.
So these expectations that he should be given like he's a first-round quarterback are asinine. He needs to be looked at and viewed and the expectations set for a third-round quarterback. And third-round quarterbacks succeeding are very, very rare.
Yeah, extremely rare.
And let me say this. A third-round quarterback coming into this system of Malik Willis's play style, 10% chance of succeeding. Malik Willis going anywhere else, 30% chance of succeeding. That's how I view Malik Willis, his draft status as a third-round quarterback. I love Malik Willis's attitude for the most part, and I love Malik Willis's skill set. This is not the marriage that you want, and there needs to be proper expectations set. Dak Prescott, rare.
Yeah, he's
Russell Wilson, rare.
Yeah,
Tom Brady, rare.
Yeah,
those 3 guys are rare exceptions.
Yep. Yeah, there's no. It's very
out
clear.
Of how many quarterbacks that have been drafted?
And the only
ridiculous amount.
And part of the reason Dak fell was a DUI and like off the field stuff. It wasn't because of like his skill set either. So, and again, Dak has proven that. Oh, by the way, all those great games in college, he's a pretty good player. All right, so let's. Here's my question, because I know I want to move on to college football here, but I keep. Do fans need to be prepared for the possibility of a Dobbs-Willis competition for the starting job next year, or do you still
job? No.
Or do you still believe Ryan Tannehill's back unequivocally?
Ryan Tannehill's back, or they've drafted or signed someone better than Dobbs.
Okay.
This is the battle for quarterback 2, nothing more.
I'm asking, do you think Ryan Tannehill is going to be back next year?
Yeah, that has not changed.
Okay.
Listen, Derek Carr leaving does not change, because what this does is create another team that needs a quarterback. And if you get rid of Ryan Tannehill, what the fuck are you going to do?
Well,
because there's teams, because Brady is probably going to go to Las Vegas, is my estimation. Go to Josh McDaniels, go to Devontae Adams, get Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. Go to that if he plays again. Probably bring in Gronk over to Las Vegas, because Gronk wants to come back, and Gronk was definitely going to love Las Vegas. Go over
Gronk
there.
May just be in Vegas permanently.
Yeah, go over there. Then are you going to trade for Derek Carr? That's going to cost you about a couple $10 million more dollars.
Well, there's a good chance
for a lateral move.
There's a good chance he gets cut. Also, let's be
there
clear.
Is, but I think
even
if he gets cut, then you got to find a trade partner for Ryan Tannehill. Or are you going to bring in Jimmy G, who can't stay healthy?
There's going to be a bidding war for Jimmy G. Like he's going to be expensive.
Trust your offense to Geno Smith if he doesn't get franchise tagged or signed by the Seahawks?
No,
who
that's
is already falling off a cliff. But the thing is, it's got to be Ryan Tannehill.
Well, if you want to win, yes. If you are doing the rebuild, no.
Vrabel is not doing a rebuild. This team does not need a rebuild. And I'm telling you right now, Vrabel's going to view it as such. And I think everybody's taking crazy pills that thinks that the Titans are even remotely going to try to tank next season. I think it's
no. I don't think. Okay, let me clarify what I mean.
And I'm not saying that you're saying tank, but
yeah.
They're not going to punt on the season by risking going after like a letting Dobbs run it or something, or who's a
no. I think Geno Smith is a perfect like middle tier like stopgap, just
like
hold on to the offense
or something.
Right, they're just
Baker Mayfield who's shown up.
They're just there to hold the offense together. To me, it's like if you're firing the coordinator, you're cutting Taylor Lewan, and maybe you're moving on from Derrick Henry and Tannehill. That is by definition an offensive rebuild, is what I'm kind of getting at. And if you're going to evolve the offense to the new chapter of Titans football, that could involve a stopgap quarterback for a year until the new general manager gets to pick their guy in the draft in 2 years. And that's all. That's the possibility. The other angle is bring back Ryan Tannehill and try to win the division. Like that's
I think that's what it's going to be. And I think that if they lose, I still say the best case scenario for them, unless Josh Dobbs is going to be Nick Foles of 2017, the best case scenario for them is to lose, is for fans to want them to lose this game. I know that's crazy. But if you're picking at right now, they're at 12th. NFL draft order. They went from 13th to 12th with this loss. Now, obviously, games have to play. You need the Saints to win. You need the Browns to win. A couple other teams. So you get up higher. But the higher that you go, if you're really concerned, okay, let me ask you this.
I'd rather have the playoff game.
I know. That's not what I'm going to ask you.
I'd rather have the playoff game.
Yeah, you're silly. So Ryan Tannehill,
no. All the best players for the Titans have been drafted in like the second and third round. The Patriots won Super Bowls drafted in the 20s.
You can't use that anymore. You cannot use that anymore because this is a new GM. New people are at the helms of the controls.
No,
so
what I'm saying is that you can win a Super Bowl by drafting in the 20s. You can win Super Bowls by only drafting in the 20s.
This team has yet to do that. So what I'm going to say is that if you're worried about the quarterback of the future, and this team probably, and I'm speculating, but this staff doesn't seem to think that that Malik Willis is it. If you're picking at 10, 12, let's say inside the top 10, and they really like Anthony Richardson.
It's a terrible plan.
No, that's what they think.
I know.
I think Anthony Richardson is 10 times better than Malik Willis, and you'll never be able to convince me.
I agree, but I don't think they're even available at 12, dude. I think all 4 quarterbacks are gone in like the top 6 or 7.
Did you even listen to me? Did you even listen to me? Because I said even like inside the top 10 because they could get up there.
Maybe.
Now listen to this. That's what everybody said about the quarterbacks last year. And I'll say this right now. I can't remember the former NFL GM that was on the radio that said this, but he laughed at the idea that Will Levis was going to go in the top 10. Laughed. He says, this is just like last year. Will Levis is not a top 10 quarterback. I don't think quarterbacks are going to go crazy except for Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
I agree with that.
And if they think that Anthony Richardson is their guy, whether we agree with that or not, always go get your guy, right? That's what we said last year heading to the draft. Always go get your guy.
Yeah.
So isn't keeping Ryan Tannehill and having Anthony Richardson sit behind a year the better thing than to try to go with like someone like a Ryan Fitzpatrick or Geno Smith?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
That's my take.
No, I think if you're trying to actually be interesting and competitive, then 1,000,000%. Yeah, absolutely. My personal trade-off is I'd rather have a playoff game and pick 22nd and give up a third-round pick to go up and get Anthony Richardson versus being out of the playoffs with no playoff game. I just think that's the point of being a fan, is to have that moment where you're in the postseason and maybe something crazy happens. And like, that's the reason you're a sports fan, is to watch that game. And again, that's just my personal value. I think if you've got the right guy making the right decisions, you can be picking 22nd, 23rd every year and still be very, very good. I think if you love one of these guys, to your point, a couple of them could fall. You can move up to 12 and get your guy. Again, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were not top 10 picks. So like, you can go get those guys. Not that we want Deshaun Watson on the team, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
From a skill point standpoint. Now, Anthony Richardson, just as an aside here, is not ready to start in the NFL. Like, he's got as much work to do as Malik Willis. He is way more talented physically and just ready to go than Malik Willis, but he's going to need to sit for a full year at least before he's ready to go, in my opinion. That's just personally.
But he's so much closer, and he's so much a better fit for this offense, the way it's currently constructed schematically, than Malik Willis, in my opinion, because he's I hate to use the term field general because I think that puts a lot of pressure on him, but the stuff that he was asked to do by Napier is so drastically different than the stuff that was asked to do by Hugh Freeze.
I cannot wait. Oh, yeah, there's no question. And I cannot wait I want to dive fully into the why Malik Willis and Tannehill are so different from a skill set standpoint and what they do.
And I don't think Anthony Richardson is as much as a project. I think he's much closer to a project in the sense that I think Anthony Richardson isn't a project like Malik Willis is a project. Now, he is a project, but all rookie quarterbacks are a project to some degree. But I think, I know that Josh Allen is a rare case, but maybe I would say that he's more of a project in the terms of how Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson review than what he is how Malik Willis is reviewed.
My only, and now we're off into like draft analysis here. Anthony, my issue is Anthony Richardson's number one issue is the same as Malik Willis's number one issue, which is processing.
No, I disagree. I think he's got to build up really well.
The only way you beat him is force him to go through his reads in the pocket, and he couldn't do it this year for Florida. So I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's a really, really talented, really like potential all-world type of player. I think he's got way more upside than Willis. I'm not going to argue that at all, but I need to see I don't think he's ready mentally for the NFL, but I think it will come quickly for him because he's so freaking insanely talented. Like his athletic ability is just, it's very much Josh Allen-y in terms of size and speed and stuff. All right, college football real quickly here. National championship playoff games on Saturday, New Year's Eve. Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Michigan. Let me ask you this. What matchup do you want to see in the national championship game?
Georgia and Michigan. And that's what we will see.
Next question, please.
I mean, it's just, I'm ready for Ohio State to get their backs blown out. I'll thoroughly enjoy it. I'm going to be so excited, and I'm ready for the Max Duggan love fest to end. I think he's overrated, and I'm excited to see him cry again.
Quickly, comments here from Sonny Dykes complaining about the SEC scheduling in November, and this is the same old thing as like the quarterback confidence thing. Like it's such an old, tired like trope about the SEC gets to play that game in November. I'm like, is that why they've won like all of the national championships? Is because they play the Citadel in November? Like, give me a break with that crap. Also, if TCU and the Big 12 wanted to put a non-conference game in November, they could do it. It's not the SEC's fault that you don't have that schedule, so don't blame the SEC.
Yeah.
I do think TCU is an interesting story. They're an unprecedented story in college football. To go from outside of the preseason top 50 to the playoff is extremely nobody's ever done that before. So I think the play loose and fast and confident.
We'll see on Saturday why they were initially ranked outside of the top 50. I can guarantee you, this is going to be Alabama versus Cincinnati or whoever played. Yeah. I think Alabama was Alabama, Washington.
Yeah, it was Alabama, Cincinnati, and then
who played Washington.
Alabama beat Washington.
That's what I thought. It was Alabama versus. Yeah. It's just they're just going to get their backs blown out.
Alabama beat Michigan State. I think even worse. Actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think what's interesting is the psychological dynamic in the TCU Michigan game. Again, TCU house money, happy to be here. Can they play loose, fast, and confident because there's no pressure, no disrespect card, like all that kind of stuff. Versus Michigan, which I think that's how Michigan was last year. And they came in and got their ass kicked by Georgia. So now they know what it takes to win this game. They've seen what it takes to level up and compete for national championships. This is a business trip for Michigan. I think they are going to show up all business, very focused. They know what to expect from the month of practice leading up. They know what to expect in the media structure where you have to have all these different obligations and the travel and all the stuff that like affects you as a human to make it to take away and distract from the football game. I think Michigan knows how to make it a football game and will be blocking and tackling better than TCU.
Yeah. And that's what matters.
From the beginning. I think Michigan's on a mission. So I think they win. The Georgia Ohio State game is the thing we've been rooting for. The best defense from a talent perspective in the country, the best offense from a talent perspective in the country. The difference is I don't see how Ohio State's defense stops Georgia at all. And on the other side, unless Ryan Day has some really new wrinkle with CJ Stroud at quarterback, which I would assume is using his legs because he refused to kind of do that this year. I don't know how Ohio State goes toe-to-toe with Georgia's defense, possession in and possession out, and keeps up.
It'll be another in a long list of embarrassing blowout losses for Ryan Day. And just everybody needs to get used to it over in Columbus. This is what you got. This is what he is.
If that happens and Michigan wins the national championship and enters next year favored over Ohio State with the game at home, he's not going to get fired, but he enters next season very much on the hot seat. And there might be more. I've heard here's the thing about Mike Vrabel and Ohio State. I've heard more stuff in the last week about this, but also more stuff that indicates he has no interest either. Like I've heard from some people that say he's far more likely to take the job than anyone thinks. And then I've heard other people say he hates recruiting, wants nothing to do with it, and will never. He's not really an option.
The hates recruiting thing on what he said on Bussin' with the Boys.
No. This is okay. So this is two
because
factors.
He himself said he enjoys recruiting. Here's my take on this, and I want to see what you think about this because it's been floating around my head. I think he hates the state of how recruiting is conducted, but I think he himself likes to recruit and talk to players.
And that's not terrible, actually. I don't mind that. I think he is a teacher at heart.
Right.
Like he loves teaching. He loves the psychology of getting to know someone and like make them better, make them great. Like that's like his shit, right? Like that's his juice. And that's development. That's once you have them on campus, the game you have to play is no longer about just getting to know mom and dad and the player.
I don't think he likes the game that is being played. I think he loves. Listen. I think that if you were to say that Mike Vrabel hates going into a player's home, going to his hometown, learning more about him, I think he'd be wrong.
I think that's right.
One of the first things he brought up about Jamarco Jones was how he recruited him. Some of these players, that's what he brings up. I remember when Jamarco Jones was signed, he goes, I remember going out to the basketball court with him and all this stuff. Like, I think he loves that. I don't know if he hates NIL necessarily, but I think he hates the corrupt, sleazy gamesmanship of recruiting.
Yeah. And you add in the portal. Like the roster management is incredibly difficult in college right now for head coaches.
Well, Stretch would probably handle all that because I guarantee that Stretch would come in there and do a lot of this work. I think a lot of the stuff that he hates, Stretch would be doing.
Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Again, somebody said that if he was offered the job, he would take it, and I'm like, the number one thing that I thought of at first was he doesn't like being told how to run a program, though. And at Ohio State, there are a lot of powerful people that think they know better than the head coach, and we're watching this with the Titans. If they bring in someone that Mike Vrabel sort of approves of, he's gonna have even more power potentially with the Titans. Whereas if you go to Ohio State or any college football program, you are kind of beholden to the big money people, and they never shut up. They always want to have their say because they're the ones writing the big checks for the university. So there's a lot of bullshit you got to deal with when you're at a big program, even your alma mater that you love, even at Ohio State. So Ryan Day, now if they beat Georgia, all this conversation goes away.
Yeah,
this whole conversation is over. Ryan Day's the guy. Even if they lose to Michigan in the national championship game, which would be really bad for Ryan Day.
If they upset Georgia, that's huge. That's massive.
Yes.
For Ryan Day.
Yes, and I don't listen. I would not gamble on Michigan TCU. I've got Georgia minus the 6.5. I think that's the only play here of the two games of all the bets you could make. I would lay the 6.5 for Georgia. I think Ohio State's going to make it interesting, but I think Georgia puts it away in the fourth quarter. I think this is all about styles make fights. If these two games are high scoring, that favors Ohio State and TCU and underdog roles. If these are the games that I think they're going to be, which is physical domination along the line of scrimmage by Michigan and Georgia, then I expect those games to unfortunately not be as close as I would like them to be. And then we'll find out about TV ratings because, again, New Year's Eve, undefeated with wives and girlfriends and kids and like parties. I've
noticed they kind of have moved the games back because it's like 3 p.m. for Michigan and then it's like 6 p.m. I think 7 p.m. for Georgia High State.
Eastern time, though, that game's going to end at like midnight.
Oh, nobody cares about the Eastern time zone. It's the worst time zone. It should be cut off from the whole thing. Is everything should be Central time zone.
I agree. My point is that how can you be leading up in the last 30 minutes of your trying to celebrate New Year's with like your wife and your kids or whoever, your friends or your family, like at a party and trying to watch the last 30 minutes of a game? Like you're never going to win that battle from a TV rating standpoint. Like people are going to go watch the ball drop.
Your Georgia fans, all their wives are Georgia fans. So you got that going for you right there.
At least for Georgia.
Yeah.
We'll find out about
Nobody cares about Ohio State.
Nobody cares about Ohio State. Listen,
by the time it gets like 2 hours from midnight, they'll be able to go ahead and have their tuxes on and go to whatever, party they're going to because it'll be over. It'll be like 48-7 or something. It'll be over.
I hope we get overtime in both these games because I just love the college football playoff so much, but I'm concerned that we're going to get two pretty good curb stompings by Michigan and Georgia.
Which is the norm for this round.
It is. And TV ratings are way down because of it. So, again, it's hard to compete with the entire community's party desires on New Year's Eve. So we'll see. You want to do some quick rapid fire here? What do you got for us on the bowl games here?
So KJ Jefferson has not declared for the draft, right?
I don't believe so.
Does he declare for the draft after this bowl game? Because his Liberty Bowl performance I thought was really great. It was really fun. But I wonder if he does come back. Because at first we were kind of like on the train all year that he was going to be entering into the draft. And now, where do you stand? After watching this game and these stats, he's entering the draft?
I would be shocked if he comes back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious. And what do you think is his projection?
He's like second, third tier of
Gotcha.
all the quarterback prospects. Like if you're saying the top 4 are Young, Stroud, Levis, and Richardson, I don't think he's anywhere near that tier. But I think I think he's an interesting option in the 4th round, 5th round. Like something like that. He's a really physical player, big arm. I think the accuracy is a problem, and the injuries are a problem.
What do you think of the game, though? Wasn't that a wild game? And that final play is just
I didn't
insane.
see much of it. I did see that I don't love bowl games, man. They're not my thing.
This was the bowl game to watch, though.
I do like. Did I see something on Twitter where Kansas scored like the game tying touchdown and like there was somebody blocking the camera?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was something like that. It was. I think they missed the field goal or something because they. No, it was they made a field goal and made touchdown because it was Arkansas surrender snake.
Surrender Cobra. Surrender Cobra. Yeah. No, it's awesome. Listen, Tennessee and here's my one thing about the bowl games is just don't put too much emphasis on the outcomes. There's no data to tell you that a bowl game win or a bowl game loss indicates any sort of future success or failure. There's nothing that ties what Tennessee does in the Orange Bowl to the future. Do you want to see some young players play? Yeah. Do I want to see coaches go for it on 4th down? Yeah. Do I want to see trick plays and fake punts? Yeah. I want an excuse to tailgate and drink beer and watch my favorite team and sing Rocky Top. But like otherwise, what happens in this game is not real. So don't get too worked up about the outcome. If Joe Milton plays great, awesome. It doesn't mean he's going to be great next year. If he plays terribly, okay, still concerning. But like, I don't think don't make it a storyline how Joe Milton plays, for example, as like as some sort of indicator of what he's going to do in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, haven't we already seen what Joe Milton could do? We know. We obviously know that Joe Milton's not going to be it. I think that I want to ask you this about the UT Clemson game. Worst uniform matchup of all time?
It could be if it's if it was the 2 oranges on the same field at the same time, then yes, it would be really, really bad. If Clemson goes like all purple, or if Clemson goes all white, or Tennessee's all, I don't even know who the home team is, but if one of the teams is all white and the other team is all orange, it could actually work. But if you put the 2 oranges on the field together, that's not good. Like all orange, that'd be bad.
Who wins? Because I'm okay. Oh, this is a good topic, and I hate that we're already running over. So I'm sorry for everybody for running over, but this is important this weekend. I am an Alabama fan, SEC fan, and you have stated on this show and on Twitter that SEC fans cannot root for SEC teams. It's like no SEC team to have success. But I hate Dabo Swinney. And I hate and have hated Ohio State for so long.
So you're rooting for Tennessee and Georgia.
Oh, I am rooting for Tennessee and Georgia. And in any other game, like if Tennessee was playing Kansas, I'd be rooting for Kansas.
But it's just Dabo that you hate.
Dabo Swinney. Can I get a pass for rooting for Tennessee?
Sure.
And rooting for Georgia because of those, because I think Ohio State is constantly overrated.
Now the Georgia one's more complicated because if Georgia wins, it actually helps Georgia's chances to win a national championship in the future. Because
I'll be rooting for Michigan next year in the second game or TCU.
The Tennessee bowl game, winning the Orange Bowl for Tennessee does not really change their success or failure. Like the non-playoff games don't. So you can chant SEC all you want to in that one. If you,
I would chant SEC. I think that's silly.
I think it's so stupid.
I'm just rooting for UT from an individual standpoint. Is that I hate Dabo. I hate everything that he says out of his stupid mouth.
You didn't know that we've been building this Clemson program through NIL for a long time now, through the name, image, and likeness of God. We've been building this program for 10 years under name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
The name, image, and likeness of Jesus.
So out on Dabo. And I just hate Ohio State. I've always hated Ohio State for a long time. But if Georgia goes to Michigan or Georgia and Michigan play each other, I'm rooting hard for Michigan. I rooted hard for Michigan last year.
That's the right approach. That's the right approach. But you can hate Ohio State and Dabo. It's fine. Totally acceptable. I do think Kansas State's going to beat Alabama outright.
But what do you think about Bryce Young's decision to actually play in this game?
Risky, man.
That is so risky. Especially when you saw Jamison Williams. You've seen John Mechie go down in SEC championship games and then the bowl game.
Well, those are real football games, though.
But that's what I'm saying. This is not a real football game, and you're going to risk getting injured for not a real football game.
I agree.
Now, listen, if he does get injured, Tennessee Titans.
He's gonna fall. He's gonna fall to 22. I do think Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
Like full stop.
Oh,
not
yeah,
even,
no
not
doubt.
even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. He's a little guy, but I think he's going to be great. And I'm with you. Like, I respect the decision. Every player gets to make their own mind about their own career, so that's fine. Jalen Hyatt didn't play. A bunch of Oklahoma guys didn't play yesterday.
I just thought it was wild when I read it. I just couldn't believe it.
It's why Alabama might win the game, because if he doesn't play, I think that's, again, Alabama has a track record of when they get to this point of the season and they're playing in a game that's not really relevant to them, they lose. They've lost to Utah and Oklahoma, and like they lose in these games.
Yeah, but they blew out Michigan State in a game like this back in 2009, 10.
Somewhere, maybe 10. Maybe it was 2010. 2008, they lost to Utah. Andre Smith sat out. Like, a bunch of guys sat out, and they lost the game. Like, my point is that when Alabama's not competing for national championships, they aren't really Alabama.
That's why I was just shocked that he is playing in this game.
I agree with that. Now, last one here, my favorite one. If you want to watch the train wreck of all train wrecks and just bet on something for the fun of betting on something, bet on the under in the Kentucky-Iowa Music City Bowl here in Nashville, because it has the opportunity to be the worst played offensive bowl game in the history of bowl games. I think the over-under is 30.5. I'm betting on the under purely to just watch a train wreck. And so there's no purpose. I have no reason for that. I'm not suggesting that it's the right bet even. I'm betting on that to root for it and watch how bad these two offenses could be on the same field in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, it's going to be terrible, unbearable to watch. It's going to be some of the worst football you'll ever see in your life.
Which is why it's like one of the few bowl games I'm tuned into, because I want to see the garbage. I want to see how bad it gets for all those teams. All right, we'll be back on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Drink in Uber or walk around. I don't know. Kingston Group Pharmacy. We appreciate your support this year. You guys have been awesome. BuildKG.com for the Kingston Group, of course. Don't make any big decisions about your house until you talk to them, and the pharmacy as well. So great respect and appreciation for both of those guys, those companies. Pharmacy Burger out there serving food to people before Titans games at Nissan Stadium. It was awesome to see that yesterday out there in the parking lot. Zach, where can people
Wish I could have seen it. I'll be on BroadwaySportsMedia.com. I got an article coming out later today on Friday called "The Next Day, Joshua Dobbs Proved Me Wrong." And I go through and I talk about Joshua Dobbs' performance, comparing it to Malik Willis's previous performance. That'll be on BroadwaySportsMedia.com. You can also hear football and other efforts wherever podcasts are listed, or wherever you listen to get your podcast.
There you go. If you want to know about the Georgia-Ohio State game, Seth Emerson was on Lamestream Sports this week, so you can check out that podcast about why access and covering college football in the playoff is so much more fun than the regular season. We've got Bill Landis, who covers the Ohio State Buckeyes, on Fringe Element. So if you want to dive deep into the matchup with Georgia and Ohio State, check out Fringe Element, of course. Adam Bingham is on the Nashville Predators podcast, Gold Standard, this week. We got that one. We got Club and Country. We got all the great shows from Broadway Sports as well. So make sure you check them all out. Have a great New Year, everybody. For Zach, I am Braden. Thank you all for listening. Rate, review, subscribe. This has been a football show.